the administration is facing new questions about executive power. President Obama says he will not seek congressional approval for military action against ISIS. At the same time, he is scheduled to meet with congressional leaders tomorrow at the White House, keeping them in the loop, at least, on his strategy to defeat and destroy the terrorist group. So, does the president have the authority to go it alone? A.B. Stoddard is associate editor and a columnist with The Hill. Rich Lowry is editor of the National Review and a Fox News contributor. What about it, A.B.? Is this constitutional? Is it legal, what the president seems to be proposing here?
Well, so far the president has been going after terrorists in different parts of the world now for years, using drone strikes under the existing authority from the authorization for use of military force that Congress passed after 9/11 in September of 2001, and that it was broad enough because most of the groups were somehow related or affiliated with al-Qaeda or the Taliban or those that sought to harm us on 9/11. Things have changed. ISIS is obviously not connected to al-Qaeda anymore, maybe once in the embryonic stages, but many in Congress are arguing that there should be a new authorization for a new authorization for use of force that clearly defines what the ISIS threat is and how we're going to go after it. The problem is those voices are really in the minority, John. You're not looking at a majority of people in both parties. Though the calls have thus been bipartisan, which I think is terrific, you're not seeing a majority of members of Congress wanting to go to a big debate about proving use of force against ISIS less than 2 months before the midterm elections.
Is that what it comes down to, Rich? Electoral politics?
Well, that's a big part of it. I think the president has the inherent authority as commander-in-chief to undertake this action, even if you don't have that view. I think it's clearly authorized under the original 2001 authorization of the fight against al-Qaeda. But this could be a years-long undertaking, John. I mean, this is a big deal. We should get Congress on the record one way or the other. If Congress votes for it, it'd be an even bigger statement of national purpose. But they don't want to, as A.B. points out, at least a lot of them, because if you're the average congressperson, you really consider it your job to carp from the sidelines without really having to take accountability yourself. So I think Obama should go to Congress on this, and everyone should vote yay or nay and be on the record forevermore on whether they support this mission or not.
Yeah, A.B., what does the president get out of acting unilaterally? I mean, does he avoid putting his fellow Democrats to a vote that they might not want to take before the election? Why would he want to do it all entirely on his own?
Well, I think he said in an interview yesterday that he thinks that Congress should act, that if the Congress represents the American people. If the American people are engaged about this new unprecedented threat and our need to respond to it, that we'll be a unified country leading an international coalition and will thus be more effective. That he wants a quote-unquote buy-in, he said, from Congress. It's not that he doesn't want it, but it really could become a huge distraction if it gets bogged down in a huge acrimonious debate where he doesn't succeed. So that's why he's talking about all the things he can do as commander-in-chief to keep our nation safe without going to Congress under the existing authority. That's not ideal, but he can certainly do it.
And he feels burned, John, by last year's experience where he was going to go to Congress for the authorization of very limited strikes against Syria, really had a meltdown and erosion of support in Congress and ended up taking a step back. So I think he, just really doesn't want to bother, and no one in Congress really wants to be bothered. So he'll do this under his own power. And being the president who got us out of Iraq, he doesn't want to be the president that gets us back into Iraq, I'm guessing. Rich Lowry, A.B. Stoddard, thank you both. Thanks, John.